Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Tell Me More. Today, I am so excited to have Jane Liu joining me. Jane is recognised as one of Australia's most successful businesswomen as the dynamic CEO and founder of multi-million-dollar fashion e-retailer Showpo. After leaving her secure but unfulfilling accounting job, Jane launched Showpo with just 2 shelves in her parents' garage. Jane transformed her life from being unemployed and deeply in debt to becoming the CEO of one of Australia's leading companies. Jane, the lazy CEO, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to chatting.
Now, I always find it a bit funny that you do call yourself the lazy CEO. Can you please explain that? Because you're certainly not lazy.
Well, I joined Instagram quite late, relatively late. So Jane Liu was taken. But in all seriousness, I think it's just the idea that if it's kind of on the one hand, it's like the idea that if you love what you do, you're not working. So, and I absolutely love what I do. But also I think it was a Bill Gates quote that if you want something done efficiently, give it to a lazy person. So
Really?
yeah, I maybe need to fact check that exact quote, but something like that.
So I'm assuming you wouldn't actually describe yourself as lazy though. How would you describe yourself to a complete stranger?
Oh, okay. I am. It's like an organized. I'm like an organized chaos in personified. Like my energy level is. I'm very high energy level. I'm an extrovert. I love people, and I like to think of myself as very fun and inclusive. I want to make sure everyone else in the room is having a great time, and I am hardworking actually, and I just I get obsessed with something, and then I almost don't know how to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been beneficial for you having that kind of approach. You've spoken a lot about the journey of Showpo, but I would love for you to share that story for people who don't know it. I know it was very humble beginnings. How did it all come about?
Well, yes. So I immigrated. I'll go way back. Let me know if it's too far back. I immigrated from China when I was 8. So to the point where on the first day of school, I didn't know how to ask for where the toilets were. I didn't, and I almost peed myself on my first day of school. That would have been so traumatic, but I didn't. So anyway, that's how I couldn't speak English, and then so. Basically, I am an only child and my parents immigrated because they wanted me to have this secure job, this better future. And it just didn't even cross any of our minds that wouldn't be in the form of working for a big company. So the idea of working for a multinational corporation just was the most glamorous possible thing ever, wearing a suit every day. And so I was always very academic. A bit of a nerd. And so I did well out of school, and then did the degree that they wanted me to do, got a job in corporate straight out of high school, which is, it's like a special cadetship program that you have to apply and do rounds and rounds of interview for. And so I was that was my greatest accomplishment to have been selected to work at KPMG, one of the big 4 accounting firms. And at first I loved it because, all of a sudden you're getting a salary, you're having amazing coworkers, and you're kind of having Friday night drinks, around finance bros in the city. It's it was kind of fun, So I was kind of distracted and really loving life. And then it wasn't until I went to a different department. Anyway, I won't go too deep. And then I thought I'd upgrade my life and go to a different department. And that was really, really boring. That I was oh, I'm really terrible at this. And then this sounds like a cliche, but then I went traveling. And I know this sounds really, I'm going really far back, but I just really always wanted push people at that early stage in life to go and live a little and just really don't try and climb the corporate ladder too much. Don't try and do too much too early. Like, go and take yourself traveling. And I don't mean like 4 weeks Kentucky. Like, I mean like go and like take yourself into a different culture where you have to just like be thrown in a deep end and just like, really experience a different way of life. Because what that made me think is I completely realized that the way that I was brought up, the way that I was thinking wasn't the only way. And it sounds obvious now, but I had to have gone through, sorry, I've kind of lost my voice. I had to have gone through that experience to have realized. So I always looked at my accounting career as as financial security, and like that path for my life was all I had wanted. And then all of a sudden, after being away, I looked at, my career in accounting as like a prison sentence. And I thought, I don't want to do 40 years of hard time in accounting. This
Of
isn't
hard
for me.
time.
Yeah, I'm like, God, yeah.
Sorry to any accountants listening.
Sorry, accountants. And honestly, some people are good at accounting. I didn't realize I'm really bad at it, and I don't like being bad at something. So, um, and then so basically, get to the actual point of starting the business. But that lays the context, which I hope might resonate with some people who are listening who, might be in a similar boat. But so my friend actually came up to me. She got made redundant during the global financial crisis back in 2010. 2009, and she's like, let's start a business. And I honestly just didn't even care what the business was. I was like, let's just do it. Like, I just love, I think I romanticized the idea of having a business, when you think, oh, you'd like sit in a cafe, like just brainstorming and just like, in control of your life, blah, blah, blah. I was like, let's do it. So, and then I was like, what do you want to do? She's like, let's run these pop-up stores where we stock products from emerging designers. So essentially like a market store, but you kind of take retailer commission, like markup, as opposed to getting store fees. And I was like, you want to do fashion? Do you know how competitive retail and fashion is? Like, this is back in 2009, 2010. I'm like, it felt like fashion was for the elite. Like, I don't know what the equivalent in Melbourne is, like Sydney. It's like, it's very eastern suburb, connected, more middle-aged kind of women, which I guess I am entering. But anyway, so I was like, how could we possibly start like a fashion business? But anyway, I always say, if you don't have a better idea, just do the idea that you've got. Just do it, even at work, people are like, what do you think of this idea? I'm like, well, look, there's no better ideas. Let's just do it. So anyway, we started running these pop-up stores, and they honestly weren't doing that well. They were breaking even, and we're not factoring in our salary, so they're probably loss making. But I was just actually loving it so much, and it just made me dislike my corporate job even more, because at this point it was a side hustle. And then so one day I realized my business partner was convincing me. She was like, quit your job, let's do this full time. And it took a while, and I think it was the fact that I just really, really realized I hated accounting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit. I'm going to chase my business dreams. I'm going to follow chase my goals, chase my dreams, and just do it. So I remember the moment I was sitting in my cubicle, and I looked at my watch, and it was lunchtime. I'm like, wow, 3 hours have just passed, and I'm literally 3 hours more dead than I was. Like 3 hours, I know it's morbid, 3 hours closer to death. And, and I've just wasted these 3 hours. I spent these 3 hours of my precious life trying to remove a circular reference in this spreadsheet, where like the spreadsheet didn't make sense because one thing was referencing another, but you have to find where it is. Like, how is this my life? How is this like impactful? So I quit. I quit my job, and I was so excited. Coincidentally, my business partner then went on holiday. So I spent that whole month thinking. I realized that doing this pop-up store was not scalable. I didn't even know what the word scalable really meant, but I kind of like had this vague idea that if we made it online, it could really grow. And there's so many other ways you could grow it. And then so I spent that whole month building this online store. And so this was what I was going to bring in earlier. I didn't tell my parents that I had quit my job because I was just too scared to tell them that, and this is why I was giving the context of my immigrant background, that they sacrificed everything for me. They came here, they left their family, their friends, with very little money, didn't speak English, and they left their corporate jobs and worked as cleaners, worked in factories, and just so that they can give me this opportunity. And I had achieved everything that we wanted to as a family, and I just threw it away to try and sell stores in like literally like what looked like a market store in and so I couldn't bring myself to tell them. I didn't know how, so I didn't. So I just like pretended to keep going to work. So whilst I was like there trying to build this website, which and it's not like these days with Shopify. Like it's not Shopify and websites like that democratize e-commerce that anyone can have a go, which is great. But at the time, it was really hard. It took me a month to build this website, and I was like, had to take photos of like almost 1,000 products, and meanwhile pretending to go to work. So I would leave, get up every day, put on a suit, and like honestly, getting up early when you're not a morning person, when you're unemployed, is real tough. So get up early, put on a suit, go. My mum worked in the city, so we used to catch a bus together. So I still had to catch the bus with her into the city. Anyway, but I was working on this business. I built this website. A month later, my business partner came back from the holiday and she told me that, and I was like, look at this website. We were pivoting. Again, didn't know what the word pivot meant, that term, but that's essentially what we were doing. I was so excited. And she said, look, Jane, I'm sick of the startup life. I have been job hunting while I was away. I have a job secured. I'm going back to corporate. I don't want to do the business anymore. And I
No.
begged and pleaded with her, and I said, please, like, look at the website. And she looked me square in the eyes and she said, look, Jane, nobody shops online. And
Wow.
I was devastated because I didn't have the confidence to start a business or keep doing the business by myself. So it meant that we had to close the business down. So
Are you still friends with this person now?
We have been on good terms after
Okay.
that. Actually went to a wedding after that, but like we've fallen out of touch.
Well, I mean, it would be, we don't have to include this, but fuck, it would be hard for her to see your success now. I mean, that decision was not a great one.
Yeah, well, I mean, she kind of like blamed me for that business failing. So now I'm like, actions speak louder than words. So, but yeah, think just to paint you a picture, just to summarize where we were, like having everything, like the best job, like the job that I upgraded to, 1,000 people applied for it, 6 people got it. I was the only girl that got it. Like it was an amazing job in corporate finance, Ernst & Young. I gave that up, and everything that my family and I have been working towards and all of a sudden I had nothing. I was unemployed. I was in debt because of the money we invested into the business, and then it was just felt like such an utter failure, and it was in the middle of the global financial crisis, so I couldn't get another job, and I was still pretending to go to work.
So you still didn't tell your parents when all of that happened?
No. So I was like, what do I do? So in the short term, I got a job as a receptionist at a laser hair removal clinic. But bigger picture, I was like, what can I do? And I honestly, at the time, I was like, I'm not going to start another fashion business because I obviously suck at it. But then that was the only experience that I had. That was the only thing I knew, which seems really obvious now because, you've made all the learnings. That's exactly what you should do because that's they're such invaluable lessons, that experience. But at the time, I didn't want to do that. But out of sheer desperation and lack of any other options, I started another fashion business. And so 2 months later, 2 months after my business partner told me that no one shops online, Showpo launched as an online store. And so that's where it all began.
That's such a good story. And so when you actually started selling items, it was out of the garage of your parents' house. Is that right?
Yeah, so this is where it gets confusing because it was originally, I didn't have any money, so I had to buy stock on consignment, which meant that I was really lucky to find a supplier that let me pick up the stock by single units and then send it off to the customer after it's sold. So I didn't really need warehousing or storage. And then we had a physical store because this is back in 2010 when it still, even though I saw online retail, the growth in online retail, it still felt like you needed bricks and mortar if you're going to have a retail business. So we had a retail business, so I was kind of operating out of that. And this because I was still pretending to my parents that I was working. And then so the next year when the business started to grow more, I my boyfriend at the time, we were doing long distance, moved to Sydney. We met in Sweden. Um, and on exchange, and he lived in Brisbane. So when he actually moved, we never had that conversation about I never said like should we move in together. I just like showed up with all my stuff. And when I say all my stuff, I meant all my stock. He had this tiny little apartment and it was like covered in stock. He always says like, that's where your story starts. That's where you should tell people. I'm like, oh, but I'm not gonna say like I started in my boyfriend's apartment. Like technically, okay. But then, so when the business did grow after that, it was in my parents' garage. At this point, I still didn't have the confidence to tell them I had quit my job. They knew I wasn't working. I told them I was on unpaid leave. I still had to tell them that I had the security of a job lined up for me, which I didn't. That's how little confidence I still had in the business.
Did you
A
have
year and a half.
any kind of safety net, like a bunch of savings or anything like that, just in
No,
case?
I think when I did tell my parents was when I looked at the warehouse and I think we had $500,000 of stock. So I did think worst case scenario, if the business fails, I can sell it at cost, sell it, at extreme discount and use that money to start something else. I actually remember this. I remember like at one point when business was pretty successful to have $500,000 of stock. And I was like, oh, worst case scenario, then I can get a job doing marketing for another fashion brand, and that is still better than accounting. And I was like, still, that was my backup plan. And yeah.
Crazy how things turned out. So how did your parents cope with it when you did eventually tell them?
So I told them 2 years later, I still remember it was Father's Day, took them to the Centrepoint Tower restaurant. And like my family they've never been to like a white tablecloth fine dining restaurant. So it was just quite iconic because it also overlooks Sydney. And, I didn't know this, but they said that back when they were, when we were like very poor at the start, they looked at that tower that one day we'll go eat there. Like one day we'll do that. And so I didn't even know that. And so we had dinner there and I told them that and told them about the lie and I told them that I was going to buy them a car and then that I was going to pay off their mortgage. I don't think I had the money to pay off their mortgage then, but I said that was the first thing I wanted to do. And they were kind of lost their minds a little bit. And it actually took a while to convince them that I quit my job 2 years ago because they kept saying like, okay, yeah, so last year, wow. I'm like, no, 2 years.
Oh,
And
so it was 2 years.
yeah, they couldn't
Wow.
do the maths. They were like, how can it have been 2 years? How have we not know? And like, you guys are very gullible. Like there was a lot of underage drinking you don't know about. I had a boyfriend you don't know about. Yeah. And I used to pretend they used to send me to piano lessons. I used to like not go, pocket the money. Like I never did anything that bad. But like I'm like, you guys are very gullible. Yeah.
Gullible, trusting. Yeah. Oh, I kind of love that though. I have some rapid fire questions that I think would be fun to get into before we get into some more of the nitty gritty.
I love rapid fire. Let's do it. I'm not that quick on rapid fire though. I'll just
That's okay.
Yeah. Just
All
fire.
right. Some of them will be quick though, I think. First of all, heels or sneakers?
Heels.
I thought you would say
I'm
that.
like a Carrie Bradshaw. Mhm.
Biggest fashion trend you wish would make a comeback?
Oh my God. Okay. God, I secretly love the high-low dress.
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
love how dramatic a maxi is, but I also think my legs are like, I am the flattest person in the world, and I don't have like an
Do you
hourglass
mean
figure.
do you mean like a mullet dress?
Is that what they're called?
Like
Like
that's short at the front and long at the back?
yeah, so I want to show my legs, but I also want to
Oh.
wear a maxi because it's dramatic.
Okay, I disagree with you on that, but I'm
Also,
good luck if you bring it out. What is the one item every woman should have in her closet?
ooh, I think, what is it? Just like a little white tee. I think not little, like actually oversized white tee. No, oversized white shirt. Take that back.
Yeah, good one.
I think it makes everything, goes with everything, makes everything chic if you style it right.
I love that. What's the wildest idea you've had that actually worked?
Well, Showpo, definitely. But I'll give you another one just because that's a gimme. So I have a business group called Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine, which just literally started. Quick story: we just 20 of us with our own businesses. We were like, oh, let's like all have dinner because we don't have. I found it quite lonely to be like not having friends that had businesses, and just people you can like vent to about how tough it is. And it's more common now, but 10 years ago when that didn't exist. And so we had this dinner. We had so much fun. We're like, let's just make it a Facebook group. And actually, let's just make it like anyone can join. And what should we call it? Well, let's call it what we are, a bunch of like-minded bitches drinking wine, not thinking anything of it. Now that group has 180,000 members. It's
Holy
crazy.
moly, that's amazing.
Yeah, and there's been like events in like 25 cities around the world.
That's so cool.
Other people have met people from like-minded bitches and formed businesses together. Like it's crazy.
It's a very relatable title. I
Yeah.
like that. What is your most memorable oh my God moment in your career?
Oh my God. This is okay, not very rapid.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll just think of one. It's not. This is not the most memorable. This is just the first one. I remember the day that we made. Uh, we made as much sales as my first year salary. Not even my first year salary. My like graduate salary. So we
Wow.
went to me and my general manager. We went to the most expensive restaurant in Sydney, and we're like,
That's so cool. What is the most expensive restaurant in Sydney?
well, I don't know anymore. I don't even know if they've closed down now. Tetsuya's at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. That would have been so fun. Favorite city for inspiration?
Well, New York.
Same.
Yeah.
So good. What is your guilty pleasure when it comes to shopping?
Oh my God. Having a million tabs open. I shop online only. I hate going to stores. I am, even with my friends, like I'm sitting with the boyfriends at the front and I'll be like on the website looking.
Looking while you're in the store.
Yeah, I'm like going around touching things and like holding, like I can't tell, like, and then it falls off the hanger. I'm like, oh my God, so annoying.
You're a hazard in the store by the sounds.
And I am like, I'm actually a really awkward person in that if a sales assistant pressures me or gives me a compliment, I'll be like, okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah, you feel pressure. Yeah, I do hate that pressure. You feel really guilty walking out empty-handed.
Yeah.
Don't get that from the websites. Biggest fashion faux pas you've made?
Oh my God. I go through my Facebook pages and I'm just like, I went through this phase of like, you know how vests are in now? But like I was just wearing vests when they were not in. And like it was over jeans and like on top of a shirt. It actually is kind of like in now, which doesn't sound, but that's probably like.
No, I feel like there was a phase where, and maybe it was around the same time, maybe like 2012 or something, and we would wear kind of corporate clothes out, like to nightclubs.
Maybe it wasn't that weird because I just.
Like tight bandeau skirts and.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it was not a good time. And like really hideous wedges. But it is funny. I feel like everything sort of rotates and comes back.
There was a while when I was hoping wedges would come back because I loved them and I was sad that they left. But now I'm like, no. it's time to move on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm kind of excited about? Capri pants are back.
What's back?
And capri pants.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I think they would look great on you. I don't think I'm a capri kind of gal.
I didn't love them in the first place. I just saw how our girl styled it on a model. So I'm like, ooh.
I'll probably get sucked in if I see it enough on TikTok.
Yes.
Can you tell me or describe Showpo in one word?
Fun.
Love that. When you're not in the office, what's your favorite way to unwind?
Either out with friends or my husband drinking and eating, or binge watching TV.
Anything you're watching at the moment?
Oh my God, I'm watching FY Island.
Oh, really? Yeah. I haven't watched it. Is it good?
It's good. It's just because I love it, the fact that you're kind of part of the journey of guessing. And then I also I love maths. I love Housewives, Vanderpump, all those shows. But I also love comedy news, like it's not comedy news, but like John Oliver and Have You Been Paying Attention? It's like, it's like news gossip, but entertaining. So
it's a good way to consume it.
Shark Tank. Everyone
and what? Oh, Shark Tank. Oh, of course. Best piece of fashion advice you've ever received?
Just wear it with confidence. Wear what makes you feel good. Like, it's all about how you wear it, not what you're wearing.
Wait, did I say fashion? Did I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was meant to say business. Well, I think I read them as the same thing when it comes to you. But that was a great answer. Yeah. What is the best piece of business advice you've received?
Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I asked people, this is the last question I asked in every one of my podcasts. You think I have an answer prepared for myself? Because I feel like so much pressure to say something really good.
You can come back to it if you want.
No. Okay. I think it's to just back yourself and do it when it's uncomfortable. Don't do it when it's safe. And it's not just for business. Like, let's think about social media, right? It's like, yes, everyone's trying to get on TikTok and trying to go viral on TikTok now because it's a proven, validated thing. Like, the people who did it first, right? People who did it early, the people, like me doing, starting the business, doing online retail before it was like a more known path, and marketing on Facebook. So you got to take risks, calculated risks, but you have to take risks because with big risks come great rewards.
I love that. Morning routine, I feel like I can guess this one, but calm and collected or chaotic and rushed?
Chaotic and rushed. Yeah, so rushed.
What is your secret sauce for staying creative in business?
I love bouncing ideas off people, which I think it's actually really hard right now in business because because at work, people really want to present things to me, work in their team and present things to me. And I want to bounce ideas. I want to just and I kind of in a rut where I don't have that. I just made me realize I don't have as much as I want.
So you need to work on your secret sauce.
Yeah, I go to my husband and I'm because he works in the business and I'm like, let's bounce ideas. And he's like, that's not how you think about it. He's so whatever
rigid?
brain I am, he's the other one.
Okay.
So
yeah. A bit black and white maybe.
But I also just I think I'm a very systematic way of being creative. I think it's I'll go on Instagram and then, just absorbing content. Then you kind of, it's about what can you apply this to this other source and mushing things all together, mm-hmm. It's a systematic way of being creative.
I don't know how you do everything that you do. It's so intense. Showpo alone is enormous. But then you've got your family life. You do so many other things. You're on Shark Tank. You have your podcast. I get tired just looking at what you do. How do you find a balance? How do you not feel like you're letting someone down when you're doing everything that you're doing. Like, is there such thing as balance?
I think that's the biggest thing. It's about being like saying no. And I need to get better at that. Oh, I should also say my assistant Caitlin. She's in the room, so I better give her a shout out. No, and I think I think I was saying the other day with someone, like, in your 20s, it's all about like saying yes. I think everyone should just take whatever opportunity comes your way, like just give it a go, give it a crack. But in your 30s, it's all about saying no and really understanding like what doesn't serve you, like give you happiness, and like doesn't actually align with your vision. Like, you don't just say yes because you're not, like literally the girls, a shop assistant in the store, you just like don't want to say no, so you end up like buying what you don't want. I'm that girl, literally. I don't know if I said, I'm that girl that have like kissed boys back in my young dating days because I don't know how to say no, and I'm like, ugh, like just because I don't want.
No, I can relate. I've given my phone number to guys that I definitely did not want to give my phone number to. But I tried it once where I gave my number and I changed the last digit, and then he was like, cool, I'll call you. And so you can save mine. And I'm like, well, shit, now he knows that I gave a fake number. So then in other situations, I'd just give my number out, and then I'd have these annoying boys messaging me that I didn't want to reply to, but then I felt really mean. But yeah, I feel you. Like, people pleasing is a real problem.
Do you have a whole series of people where it's like name and then surname, don't pick up?
Oh yeah, no, most of them. Or you save them as like white t-shirt, weird eyebrows or something, I don't know, and then just like not pick up.
A sad emoji. I think it's just about, the other day I went to do this as a favor, this kind of speaking thing, and other times I could charge like a good amount of money to do speaking, but as a favor to someone, I was like, okay, I'll go do a quick panel and do a speaking thing, and that means taking away time. I didn't have dinner with my family. I had to like drive out there, and there were 7 people there. 7, and I'm like, okay, that sucks. Awkward, but what am I going to learn from it? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make lemonade with this situation of lemons, and I'm going to use this rule and just think like, use this to help me be better at saying no, because what does this mean for me if I say no versus like, I just being better at, that's what I need to be better at saying no. But anyway, how do I actually balance everything else? So my actual like something tangible that I do, I put everything in my calendar in 15-minute increment tasks. So like anything I have to do. So because I feel like I'm constantly juggling so many things. And if something runs over time, or like I'm late or something happens, all I have to do is like, I've got all the tasks there. I go, okay, this can go to next week. All right, fine, move that. This can go here. And that way I also know I've got enough time to do the things that I do need to do. And that takes the pressure off. So like, I spend so much, I just love playing around with my calendar. Like even my assistant, I'm like, don't touch my calendar. I got this. Like it keeps me sane. And I think the other thing is like, I am constantly dropping balls, and I'm mostly okay with it. And I think being okay with it is part of the trick.
Yeah. So being nice to yourself, I suppose.
Yeah.
On that note, I do know that you struggle with something that a lot of people struggle with, which is imposter syndrome. How does that present for you, and how do you manage that doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think being someone who is like, I grew up feeling already really different. Like at my school where I went to primary school, I was the only foreigner in the entire school. Or like, I think someone else didn't speak English, but she was white, so I didn't know the difference at the time. So I was the only one that looked different. And so I kind of had this chip on my shoulder about it. I think I always like, if someone is rude to me in a car park or like at Woolies or something happens, I'm like, oh my God, it's because I'm Asian. Or I think in certain situations, especially when I was working corporate and it's in a very male-dominated situation, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm a woman, or it's because I'm young. And certain situation, it's because I'm poor. And so I always had this like chip on my shoulder, but about, you know, yeah, like that's my the first thing I kind of think about. And so I think that also kind of builds into the imposter syndrome. Like as things were growing, I'm like, can I, like, is this really happening to me? Like I also always think something bad's going to then happen because I don't deserve this success. Like any minute now, like something's going to happen, and that kind of, balances things out. I remember, yeah. And then but one thing I did learn is like as I got to become more successful, I realized that actually, you know, people are still just dickheads because or they're having a bad day and it's absolutely not about me. That's one
Yeah.
thing I have learned. And sometimes I do still default to thinking like that. It's just and yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So I still, even like doing Shark Tank, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so kind of like out of my depth on my first day there. And these are the things I tell myself to help me get over my imposter syndrome. Three things. And I don't know how well they work, but this is what I tell myself in my head. One is the fact that like, only when you do feel imposter syndrome, that is when you're doing something cool, big, different. Like the business advice that I was trying to give, that like that's when you're leveling up.
Yeah.
That's what it means. And
Like
that's
if you always feel comfortable, you're not challenging yourself.
exactly. That's why you feel
Yeah.
out of your depth, and you still can't help feeling it, but that's one of the things I kind of like tell myself in my head. The other thing is, I think I heard this like TEDx with like Mike Cannon-Brookes from Atlassian, and he basically said that like, and he's like the most probably like the one of the most successful business people in the world, in Australia, in the world, and he has imposter syndrome because his business keeps growing, and as you grow, every time there's always going to be bigger competition. There's always going to be more, and it doesn't go away. It actually probably gets even bigger because there's always going to be more, and just kind of to embrace it. And then the other one that really like also helps is, Stifler's mom, Jennifer.
Yeah. I love her.
So
Jennifer Coolidge.
she also, I think this is also a TEDx, and she basically said that like, if you ever have imposter syndrome, like go and find someone who's doing what you're trying to do, but doing it really badly. And just be like, if they can do it, I can do it. Like she's like, I went to some stage play and this person was like terrible, and they're just doing it. And that's like, I'm like, yes, I can do this too. So
That's really good advice.
yeah, so, I mean, like, I don't know if it will ever, imposter syndrome can go away, but I kind of tell that to myself. Just
Yeah.
through my head.
I think it's helpful for people to hear that though, that like someone who is so successful still has those feelings. It's helpful, but then it's also like, well, shit. Like if you experience it and you truly belong in the places that you're, in everything you're doing, it's annoying to know that it doesn't go away. But they were really helpful tips. I'm going to use those.
Yeah.
So thank you.
But that's why I also love like what you do with your platform, like how much, how open you are, like, and authentic you are, and sharing everything, because I feel like, it's just
Well, we're all just humans at the end of the day, just like having a human experience. But I think it's so easy with social media to think that everything is all, especially when you are posting highlights, which we all tend to do because that's the fun stuff. It's easy to think that everything is pretty perfect. But behind the scenes, it never really is. On that note, what are some of the biggest setbacks that you've faced or failures that you can share with us?
Oh, I mean, what I know, like, I feel like everyone's like sick of hearing about COVID because it's like the years that we kind of want to forget. But that was really tough for me and for the business. Just a few months before COVID, or like, because it does take a few months before COVID, is when we decided that, actually maybe a year before, we decided that we wanted to focus on fashion and more, fashion, on dresses and party and occasion. And that's when we're like, let's just drop our activewear and our loungewear ranges.
No way.
Yeah. So
And then that was all we lived in for 2 years.
yeah, and it's like everyone thinks it's not that, it takes a long time to design, especially like when everything is slower in China as well. Like we couldn't just like turn over like a sweats range, you know? So yeah, that was tough. Like I remember when we first got our big warehouse, I was like, wow, look at how big my warehouse is. I'm so successful. Like just like, like patting myself on the back, feeling really good about myself. And then when that happened, when COVID happened, I was like looking around and being like, fuck, look at all this stock, like feeling overstocked. When you get overstocked, you go into this discount cycle, which is really hard to get out of, because then you keep discounting and people expect discounts, and then people don't want to buy your full price stuff, and then you have to mark down your full price stuff. It's a really bad cycle to get in, and that was really tough. And I think it's just like, I feel like before COVID, I felt sorry, a really bad hay fever.
Do you want to? I'm going to have a quick sip of water because I also have
yeah.
like a really dry mouth.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably a good time. Also, excuse the fizz.
Oh.
I take my soda stream bottle everywhere. It's probably an ick of myself.
I'm not allowed to take my soda stream bottles out because whenever I do, they go missing. And my husband literally stock counts them. He's like, there's a lid missing. I can't take it to my room.
Oh, it's so good. Although now hopefully I don't have any monsters in my chest. Are you okay?
Yeah. Where were we?
Cool. We were talking about you were overwhelmed because you were getting you get in a discount cycle.
Yeah. And so before COVID, I kind of thought I thought we were invincible. Business was just going so well and everything was great. And I couldn't really see the risks in the business because everything was just doing really well. And then I also had a really high risk profile because I think people generally who start businesses, are a little bit naive. They don't see the risks and they just see the opportunities, and they're optimists, And so I was happy to take in a lot of risks. And then cut to COVID, the risks got fucking high. Sorry, the risks got really high to a degree that you wouldn't even have imagined before. And then I also had kids. I had my first child, and I didn't, you can't help but then think, I have this family that relies on me. My husband also then, a year before that, joined the business. So also all eggs in one basket. Like he had a really good corporate job. He had, his own thing before. So now all eggs in one basket. And my risk profile came down, like how much the risk I was willing to take came down, and the actual risk went up. So we literally had to be, like before, like no risk, and I could take so much more, and it just all flipped within it was just, that was really tough. And then I think for me, I'm such a, an extrovert. I was saying before that I get energy from people, being surrounded by people. I love my office. Like I don't have the corner desk in the office. My desk was in the middle, so I could be equidistant to everyone and just be amongst it all. And I kind of felt like almost part of my identity, because we had, that movie, The Intern, they had this cool office and being away from that, and then also just being pregnant, you're hormonal, it was really tough. And I'm not an alcoholic, but they're not being able to drink as well. That just was the icing on the cake. So I was like, am I having an identity crisis? Like, what's happening? Like, who am I? What am I doing? That was really tough. And I was like, what? And it was the first time I thought, what if I lost it all? And I hadn't had to worry about that for so long. And I think it wasn't just the fact that it was COVID. We actually hired some really bad people, who then I think, I don't blame the people, because ultimately it's my business, but I think with people come different strategies and different directions. And I think that's what also laid on top of, because, that's what laid on top of it. Made a few wrong decisions that just, and it took time. It really took a lot of time and hard work to get it all back. And when we're trying to fix the business also with a newborn, not sleeping, that was really, really tough. Trying to like not fighting with your husband when you have a newborn, I think is tough for anyone. But then when you're stressed for your business, that was really tough. But the silver lining has been that like it really made us fix our business and make it more robust than ever, and just clear out the fat, and just it's just so much more streamlined. The processes are great. Like it's now that like even though we have a cost of living crisis and the economy is not great, like the business is doing really well. Like we are able to, we're like in a, it's made us better for the long term. So that's been the silver lining.
That's amazing. It does seem like you find a way to find a learning in any kind of challenging situation, which is
Yeah, and it's definitely made me a better business person. Like I learned so much through the process. I'm not sure if I wanted to learn. I was saying this to my husband, like maybe we don't want to learn this, so maybe it's easier just to not go through it. But no, I think it's thinking long term. I do say in business and in life in general, like when you do make a mistake, you are saving yourself from not making that mistake later in life. When you do get older, like whether it's business or personal, the investment and the risks are longer, right? Like so, when you're younger, you date the wrong person, but later, like you can have kids with someone, like you learn that they're the wrong person earlier, right? Or like if you're making a business mistake, you hire the wrong person then, but it saves you from not hiring them later, or like the investments get much bigger.
Yeah, I like that. What do you think it was that set Showpo apart? Because I know at the start, like you were saying, it wasn't as saturated online shopping, but to continue to have the success that you had when it did become such a saturated market, what is it that, differentiated Showpo from the rest? And why do you think that you've had the success that you have?
I just think, I don't know. I'm not saying other companies don't have it. I think we have so much heart and soul in the business, and it's just so like it's a fun business, and I think it's so authentic that and inclusive, and I think that is just really everything about the business exudes that, and you can see it from our content, our events, that the size diversity that we have on our platform, that that everyone, that fashion isn't meant to be serious, it's meant to be fun, um and so I feel like that is at the core of Showpo, um that to empower women of all sizes. But I think ultimately, like for a fashion business, it still comes down to like your designs, right? So I think really understanding our market, and then really going hard and nailing that market is ultimately like the core of a fashion business. And then staying relevant for a fashion business is probably one of the trickiest things to do, because it is so competitive. If you don't do anything, you go backwards in this industry.
How do you stay on top of fashion trends and also, keep sustainability in mind? Because I know that that's something you're conscious of.
I think it's in terms of trends, I think it's like hiring a really great team, who, like I'm always being like, what about this? What about that? But like we have people who are just like have that natural eye, like, hiring people who are like more talented than yourself. Like, I think knowing what my blind spots are and hiring around that. So we have an amazing team, and it does really show when that you've got the right people, when you have the right people in place, and we have a really great team. And in terms of like in terms of sustainability, I think we're really like focused on our recycled range, our and our natural fibers, and that's been like a really big part of the growth of the business as well.
That's awesome. I would love for you to share a piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to go back to Jane back in 2010 when you were first starting out. What would you tell her?
I would tell her to back herself and just go go for it. And, one of the great things is that I actually felt like I always stopped to smell the roses, and I enjoyed the process and celebrated the wins. So I would tell myself to definitely keep doing that. I do know, like, some people are always like, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? I'm always like, look what we've done. This is sick. Let's celebrate.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I need to be better at that. I think a
Yes.
couple of people in the room need to be better at that. Yeah, it can be hard to not get caught up in the hustle of it all and thinking like, okay, we've done what we were going to do and like, what's the next thing? So that I think that's really good advice. Can you tell me a little bit about Shark Tank? I know that the new season has just come out, the second season. What's it like being part of that show?
Oh my God, I pinch myself. It's so fun. It's so exciting. And it's just the fact that, like, it's actually a show that is like, can be life-changing for a business. Like, the fact that, like, it's crazy how, like, you can then be involved in the business and, help this business grow. And I think even like, just, I think having myself on TV, like, I just think about, like, me, if little Jane growing up, seeing like another Asian female on TV, I would just, that would really give me more confidence that I could do that. Like, I'm, I don't, yeah, I pinch myself that I might have that impact on someone else, because I didn't grow up with that, didn't see that representation growing up, and I don't, yeah. So I love that. And it's just so fun. Like, I don't know if you've seen the US one, which is like, the US show is very entertaining. And Robert Herjavec, who is one of the OG US Sharks, he's in the Australian one because he married an Australian. And so he sits next to me, and the producers call us the naughty corner, because we're both just like, he's got more energy than me, and like, we are just having so much fun. And I just say, I get a front row ticket to the Robert Herjavec show. So we're just like, he's not only entertaining, but I learned so much from him. And it's great. And the other sharks, we've got 2 new sharks this year who are amazing. And Davey is just like, he's a genius. So
I can't wait to watch. I loved watching you last season. I feel like as well, for the people that come on, if I was to see your face, you're so warm and approachable, and I feel like you must help them a lot to get through it, because it must be so terrifying putting yourself in that situation.
I can do it, because I get nervous, and I'm like, if I say something stupid, I know they'll edit out anything too bad. Like, it's, like, I'm not going to make me look bad, but like, they have that one chance, like, if I say something, if I look stupid in one also pitch, I've got another like 50 pitches to make up for it, it'll come out in the wash. Like, they've got that one pitch. It's so much pressure. It's so scary. I will say one thing that's different this year to last year that you might find interesting is, like, last year I was trying to sound smart, and this year I just gave up on that. And I'm just like, I'll just do me.
Oh my God, I love that.
And I think it'll make me better, because I was more in the moment, I think.
Yeah. But how do you, there are a couple people on there that, do their pitch, and from the beginning that it's not going to happen. Like, some of them are they're all entertaining, at least. How do you keep a straight face? Like, it must be hard with some of them.
Oh, I'm not great. The cameraman's like, your face shows everything. And he's like, I just see the, like, I'm not at
You don't
all.
have a poker face.
No. And it's so funny. Like, Robert's like, sometimes people are like, they have these like, like, bad businesses. They're just not great, because it's not like the sales are not there. So ultimately the sales are not there. It doesn't kind of matter, because then it becomes a hobby, because it's not sustainable, right? And then he because he's got this experience in the show, and in America, I think he'll ask these questions like, what would it mean to you if the business didn't work out? Like, you put your mortgage your house for it. And in America, they would be like, I'd be homeless. It would be bad. Like, it's like a really quite, dramatic. And he's like, Australians are so chilled. They're just like, no, you'll be right.
I'll just do something. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, no. And then like he was saying, I actually just had him on the podcast yesterday. He was like, in the first year, these guys, he said to these guys, like, this is probably like the worst pitch I've ever seen. And they're like, yeah, you're probably right. We probably could do better. And he's just like, Australians are so laid back, so chilled, like which I just love. Actually, it's great.
Yeah, there's a big contrast there. Oh, I can't wait to watch you on it again, and I'm sad that I won't be around for the launch. It's very exciting. I would love to wrap up the episode with a little segment called Oranges and Lemons, where you tell me your orange and lemon of the day or the last few days. Your lemon is something that's a little bit more negative and sour, and then your orange is more positive.
Oh, I've never heard this saying. I really like it. So my lemon. Oh my god, well, I still say I've got baby brain, but I think my child's almost 2, and I don't know if I can get away with that. Like
toddler brain. I think toddler brain would be a thing.
Yeah. What have I been doing? So we just had an amazing influencer lunch for our limoncello collection, which has been selling really well, which is great. Everything's just like, where everything is just like pulled off really well. Like, and the sour part is the fact that actually the range is called limoncello. And so, we are doing a collab with Messina at Bondi, where we're giving out lemon flavored gelato ice cream this Sunday, but it is pissing down. So actual like lemons, and then I don't know what we're gonna do. So,
oh, that's a shame. But so is your orange the collection?
The orange is the collection, and the event, and
the lemon is the rain.
Yeah,
yeah, I feel that.
We will make lemonade from lemons somehow. I don't know how.
I think you always do. Yeah. My orange is that it's kind of, so a friend of mine has a little girl. She's 5, and she recently said that they do oranges and lemons now every night before she goes to bed.
Oh.
And she added in a lime, which is something that was a lemon that became an orange, or became better. So my lemon was I've had a bad knee. And then it's like lime/orange that I went to the physio, and it's nothing serious. It's like, just like overuse, and it's going to be just fine. And I'm about to go overseas, and I'll be able to walk everywhere and not be, hobbling around. So I'm stoked about that.
That's great. And what's your orange?
Well, the orange is probably that, but also that I do go overseas. So by the time this episode drops, my best friend is getting married in Mallorca. So I'm going to London.
I tell my friends, why are you all so lame? Why is no one getting married overseas?
Why are we so lame?
Like, I want to go to an overseas destination wedding, and everyone's just going up the coast. I'm like, no.
Well, why don't you just renew your vows or something and just take one for the team?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jane. I know you are so busy, and I really appreciate your time and your wisdom, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Thanks so much. Love chatting to you, as always.
Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget, you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.